almost approaching the weekend, but before that, I have another amazing guest with us today. Tim is a product guy. He is a behavioral science geek and considers himself a fintech nerd who is also a founder by blood. He has also founded a mobile banking startup for college students that got featured on Apple, which was backed by some of the top companies. Let's welcome Tim on 10 Minutes of Hiring Wisdom, where he will tell us about what it takes to start your own company, how to get that entrepreneurial spirit started, and if he has any advice for job seekers out there, what would it be? Hi, Tim. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on the podcast.
Of course. So, Tim, can you tell us about where you work, what your role is within the company?
Sure. I'm currently at TrueAccord. I am a senior product manager here, building financial services products 0 to 1 to help Americans that are in debt collections, which is a very predatory and very antiquated industry that needs a lot of disruptions, as the TrueAccord is doing. And before this, as you mentioned, I was a founder of my own financial technology startup called Pluto Money, where we were building mobile banking for college students to help them become more financially healthy.
Okay, so your most of your experience has been mainly revolving around finance and everything. What got you interested in finance?
It didn't happen intentionally. Honestly, I was just in college and, going through the typical financial struggles that college students go through. And, I was part of entrepreneurial organizations at UCLA. I was very involved in growing the entrepreneurship community there. So I was always thinking about, identifying pain points, right, in my life that I care about or pain points I see around me. And yeah, I think financial health was just a very big one that I noticed not only for myself, but also for those around me. A lack of financial education, a lack of tools for young people to start learning how to, deal with money. A lot of solutions out there just, didn't understand how to relate to this, younger demographic. So wanted to do something about it. And it just turned out to be that way. When I started Pluto Money, there were very few young people starting companies in financial technology. I'd say most of them were, older ex-bankers, probably a white male, in this long time and veterans in the industry. So it was a big risk, but we wanted to pursue solving this pain point that we cared about, and it just sort of happened.
Okay, so my next question is you had your own startup. Why are you working for a new company then? Like where did the transition come from?
That's a good question. I had my own startup, so unfortunately, COVID obviously was not kind to a lot of startups. For us, including a lot of college students, obviously had to go home. A lot of work study jobs, got disrupted. Their source of income got disrupted, and that was the whole basis of our platform, right? Helping college students to manage their finances independently. And so, we were raising around. Unfortunately, weren't able to close it before the market crashed, and we had to make a decision to decide where to go from here. And ultimately, we decided that it made sense for us to sort of move on. Learn a lot of lessons as an entrepreneur. We accomplished a lot of really exciting things there. And today, there are multiple companies that got directly inspired by us, and we help pave a path forward. There are companies today that are proving out our thesis that we weren't able to prove out, but that makes me happy to see that happening. But yeah, right now I'm continuing to work at a company that with a mission that I care about. It's also in financial services, also helping underserved Americans, just a very different demographic or different market, but I'm still able to do what I love doing, which is build products 0 to 1, and not have to worry about fundraising for now
That makes
until I
sense.
start my next company.
I think you mentioned something that very very important because when you're an entrepreneur and you start your own business, there's always going to be risk involved, and sometimes businesses fail, sometimes things might not work out. But what's important is taking away lessons, which you certainly did, and now you're applying all that knowledge in your new role, and that's something
Exactly.
that's very inspiring because you need to take every learning from a failure and use it to your best strength. And you're definitely doing that. So thank you for inspiring a lot of people out there who usually, when they're faced with failure, they're like, okay, what do I do? Where do I go from here? So it's definitely very inspiring for us to see that. So Tim, our next question for you would be that what is your company hiring? Your company seems to be growing, but I'd love to hear more regarding your company. What kind of culture exists within the company, and what kind of positions are open within your company?
Sure, yeah. True Accord is definitely hiring across the business. You can go to True Accord's career sites, everything from client success to engineering, etc. But yeah, the company is a very mission driven company. Like people that work at True Accord very genuinely care about making the debt collection industry a more friendly one to consumers or a human first, right? Treating everyone with respect, giving everyone the flexibility to resolve debts that they owe in a way that works for them. So just really changing the game there. It's a very difficult industry to work in, obviously, because of a lot of just regulation, a lot of bad actors, et cetera. And we're here trying to disrupt that and change the game. So, we definitely look for very ambitious, but also mission driven people. Everyone at the company, genuinely, again, they want to succeed, right? So teamwork is a super important piece of, being part of this company. You got to work together to solve this very difficult problem. And we're in a high growth stage right now. So obviously, is when you're in a high growth phase, oftentimes you do have to wear a lot of hats. You have to be very adaptable to, changing goals, et cetera. And so, yeah, you just have to really be able to be on your feet, but at the same time, be able to contribute, your strength to the company. So, yeah, we're definitely hiring. You can
Okay.
go to our career site and, definitely send in applications.
Sounds good. Thank you so much for sharing that. My next question is that you mentioned that your company is going through this high growth phase, but that usually means that a lot of companies that are newly founded, that are still in their startup phase, usually tend to offshore a lot of those roles. So, is your company open to global hiring? Are you just hiring within the US? What is your take on that?
That's a good question. I'm probably not the best person to ask in terms of the overall strategy there. I'm sure that there are certain positions. And sorry about the sirens in the background. I'm in New York City, but there certainly are certain positions that I'm sure the company is open to hiring like abroad, etc. But I think it's really a case by case basis. Depending on the fit of the. Ultimately, it's like, is the person going to be a good fit for the company, and vice versa. And then from there, you make things happen. So.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. Last question for you, Tim, would be that a lot of companies tend to lose good candidates just because they don't respond fast, just because the process is so long. So, according to you, what are some things that hiring managers or recruiters could even do to increase, like, could optimize the hiring process for candidates, making sure that they retain the candidates, which end up working for their company? So, can you elaborate and throw a little light on what you've learned that could be useful?
Sure. So you're asking like what are some things that companies can do to? Sorry, just trying to clarify the question.
So I'm just sorry, I should have been much more clear. So my question is, what are some things that companies can do to optimize their hiring process within the company itself?
Okay, got it. Um, I think one of the most powerful thing is like when you're able to bring referrals into the company, because if you have a good hiring process that's able to attract top talent, but also people that are a great fit for your company, and you're able to amplify that by getting your employees to refer people in their network that they know to be a very good fit to the company. That would be absolutely massive, because I know that at True Accord, a lot of our best performing employees are people that got referred from very trusted folks that already work at a company. So just figuring out how to increase engagement there.
Nice. So Tim, can you tell me, if from what you've learned along the way, what is some piece of advice that you would give to job seekers out there that are currently seeking jobs in the market?
For sure. There's a number of things. I would say number one, have a really clear understanding of what your goals are. Like, what are you looking for in this role? What do you care about in the company? What are you willing to sacrifice? Because especially if you're a first time job seeker or early in your career, it's near impossible, or very difficult to find that perfect role. So there's always going to be trade offs. So just really understanding that. I think number two, not being afraid to reach out to other folks that are in that profession that you're interested in. Like, people are more willing to help often than not. Even just having informational interviews, going to networking events, like those are the best ways to be able to build a relationship with those people. Get an inside look at what that profession's like, and then being able to get referrals from them. Like, that's absolutely the easiest way to get into the doors at any company, instead of having your resume be amidst thousands of other applicants and not having anything stand out. And I think number three, just like not being afraid to tackle side projects, right? to build experience, right? Whether you want to break into product management, that means building products 0 to 1, being able to work with a team on side projects, or maybe you're doing sales and you want to prove that you could sell stuff on the side. Like there's a lot of ways you can get creative without having an extensive resume. So those are some of the tips that I would.
Okay. Sounds good. Well, you heard it from Tim, who was an entrepreneur himself, but now is currently working for a company that is growing fast. Thank you so much for joining us, Tim, today. It was an absolute pleasure learning about you, your experience, and how far you've come along. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much again.
Thanks for having me.